Hello and welcome to the Hooligan Report for another week. I'm your host as always, SM, and with me I have Cruyff,
Hello.
and we have Bojan.
Oh,
How are we, boys? I'm sure you're buzzing, Cruyff.
Yes, overall, I think it was a good performance. We came out firing, and from the very first minute, we looked to be the better team, and the overall scoreline showed that.
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Some pretty fantastic goals scored by Sanchez and Bellerin and Giroud, and the list goes on, really.
Yeah,
What do you reckon was the worst part of Liverpool's performance?
I think that them coming to our training was a bit rude. They shouldn't show up to our training session. That was very rude of them. I spoke to Brendan, and he said they won't do it again.
Now, while we've got you, Wenger, any wonder kids you're signing this summer?
Yes, we have the under-8 Turkish captain. He's a centre back. Then in 2025, we sell him to Man City.
Make a decent profit on that one, I'm sure.
And we are linked with Maxi Romero from Vélez, who's 16 years old, the next Messi.
But
Actually, the last one's actually true. We are linked with this Messi Romero from Vélez Sarsfield, who's 16 and allegedly the next Messi, but we'll see what happens with that, I guess.
see what happens to that one, yeah. Bojan, what was your thought on the game?
Arsenal played beautiful football, passed it around well, pass and move football, really cut Liverpool up on the counter-attack. And all the goals were lovely. Moreno, again, I'm not sure. He needs to be dropped. His confidence is at a low because it was, for Bellerin's goal, it was kind of a defensive move Moreno did that you would kind of do in indoor, where
Yeah.
you put your hands behind your back and then crouch down and try and block someone's shot. And it was just shocking. And
Is that what he was doing? I thought he was impersonating a statue.
And then I guess the concerning thing for Liverpool fans is that they lacked leadership in the game and they lost their discipline at stages. And Emre Can's tackle on Welbeck towards the end, I mean, he had no hope of getting the ball. And I mean, in any other game, that should have been a straight red. He just kind of two-footed chopped him down from behind. So they lost their discipline mainly because they couldn't get near the ball. Arsenal pretty much dominated the whole play. I guess the biggest play of the game was Markovic threw on goal, made the right decision to try and square it to Sterling, but you can't overhit a pass from there.
Yeah.
Just terrible. And that's when the momentum, it was a little bit 50-50 at that stage. And then Arsenal just dominated, and they really could have scored 6 or 7. I mean, Welbeck, I think, was through on goal twice, albeit at tight angles, and Cazorla hit the outside of the post with a beautiful passing move in triangles. But I'll let Cruyff have his moment here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you're right that it was a fairly even game, I thought, before the Markovic overhit, and that sort of set the tone for the rest of the half. I think the most concerning thing for Liverpool fans is surely they had Sturridge come on at half time and he didn't really seem to make that much of a difference, whether he's still a bit injured or what, but
I don't think he was fit, to be honest.
I mean, it's a concern that he just can't seem to get fit and get on the park for more than a couple of games these days.
Well, what's the story with the rest of Liverpool strikers? I know Brendan Rodgers made
It's just not very good.
a not very thinly veiled dig at Balotelli, who was medically cleared to play, but Balotelli didn't want to travel because he had knee soreness or something. Barini, he's not out on loan, I don't think, so is he just in the twos? They've got a couple of good strikers. Well, they've got one very good young up-and-coming striker in the reserves. I don't know why they don't try and play him, albeit he's 18, but you know, he looks like he's going to be a reasonable player.
Who's that?
I can't remember his name. It might be Sinclair, although I might be getting mistaken with one of the Chelsea reserve strikers. But they do have a very good striker in the reserves coming through. Liverpool, so I'm not sure why they're not giving him a chance unless he's injured. But I mean, you've got Ballo and Barini. You don't want to play an injury-prone, half fit striker. You really don't. I know they need to win, but I mean the game was bloody over at half-time anyway. So.
Well, you look at their strikers as a collection. You've got Sturridge, who's out for half the season injured. You've got Lambert, who's about 35. You've got Balotelli, who can't seem to score more than about what was the most he scored for City in the season? Only about 10 or so, wasn't it?
16 maybe.
16, and a lot of those were penalties. And Barini, who scored a couple of goals on loan at Sunderland, but is hardly Liverpool quality. And you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realise why they lack direction, they lack a bit of shape in games when they don't have any decent strikers up top.
Correct. So I mean, sorry, Cruyff, you go.
I think it's part of Rodgers is to blame as well. The way he's recruiting players and his transfer policy. I mean, he hasn't really brought in that many good players overall when you look at it.
I mean, in fairness, their number one target over the summer was reportedly Alexis Sanchez, and was it Sanchez who turned them down and decided on Arsenal? Sorry,
I don't think they offered him enough money. I think that's what it was.
Surely, if you're in Liverpool's position, you've just sold Suarez, and you have a player of the caliber of Sanchez who could be potentially coming. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and it was related to last season as well. But when they quibble over a couple of £1,000 a week, or a couple of $1 million in terms of a transfer fee, and they miss out on players, they've missed out on guys like Eriksen and other guys like that in similar circumstances. You really do have to review your transfer policy.
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking at, say, if the differential is £10,000 a week for a player. You know, you looked at, I guess, the sum of that over the course of a year, and versus the amount of money you get for Champions League. I mean, that's what you're really talking about with a Alexis Sanchez caliber player, or even Christian Eriksen would be perfect for them right now. Well, yes, £10,000 a week times 52 weeks of the year versus 40 to 50 million pounds for being in Champions League. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And just having that sort of player in the squad can just lift the players around them as well. I mean, you look at what Sanchez has gone and done at Arsenal in the way that he plays, and he brings players into the game. And, you know, you can't value that sort of contribution to a team, really.
And he's a workhorse, Sanchez, and it's a fairly underrated part of his game. He never stops chasing down the defenders and pressing them. And that really worked on the weekend, given, I guess, how poor Liverpool's defence been of late, and especially without Sturridge.
And that's it. I mean, when you've got someone like Sanchez who just runs and runs and runs all day, it just forces the other players to sort of lift to his level, because when he's constantly chasing down defences, he's constantly putting pressure on, and he's looking for those players to pass to or bring into the game around him. It lifts them to another level. So you see Cazorla and Giroud and those sorts of players are really sort of having quite good seasons as a result.
He reminds me of Suarez in a way, with the way how hard he works and how determined he is down to chase loose balls, and his sort of never say die attitude.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a great season.
Won't like that.
What was that?
Liverpool fans won't like that. You can't compare anyone to Suarez. He was, the third best player, well, almost of all time, if not in the world, and he was on Ronaldo and Messi's level. It'll only take him a season at Barca, and then he'll be the best player in the world.
Speaking of Suarez, though, did we see his comments following, I think it was the charity game, where he said that he wouldn't rule out coming back to play for Liverpool one day?
Well, he might have to do it in the doldrums of the Championship, if so.
Well, United have been waiting for Cristiano Ronaldo to come back ever since he left, so I wouldn't stay up at night waiting for that transfer to happen. I can't see it. I mean, while of course the fans love him here, I mean, if you're like him, I don't think he's getting the same kind of scrutiny in Spain that he was getting in England. From that perspective, it was the right time for him to go. I can't see him coming back anytime soon. I think that's more just to keep the fans of Liverpool loving him, really. So, yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah, that's understandable. But speaking of United, we might talk quickly about their game for a couple of reasons. One, it was a fantastic strike by Rooney for, I think, the second goal, and the other being that Villa losing that game drags them further into the relegation battle. So we'll talk about the quality of Rooney's goal first and the quality of goals over the weekend.
Delicious.
And it was a fantastic strike.
He's a natural striker. He's a natural finisher, and he plays when he's playing off instinct, which is why I sort of play up front, so he can't think about it too much. When he's playing off instinct, he's a fantastic forward. And the pass from Di Maria, I mean, that was Di Maria's 10th assist for the season, but it was a bloody poor pass.
He's getting pretty close to the United record, isn't he? Was it Ronaldo with the record number of assists, or who was it?
I think Beckham's on 15.
Oh, Beckham, sorry, it was Beckham, not Ronaldo. Yeah, Ronaldo wouldn't assist goals, yeah. I knew it was one of those guys, but yeah.
Rooney did well to bring that ball down on his left with the tip of his boot and then hit it on a half volley. I thought that was exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, and it was similar with the Sanchez goal as well. I mean, the way that those guys are able to hit the ball whilst clearly off balance or the ball's sort of bouncing in a way they wouldn't want, and still to be able to strike the ball pretty well and actually score a pretty fantastic goal out of it is, a testament to their skill.
Yeah,
definitely.
And he didn't have the best game. He actually.
It wasn't as good as Sanchez or Giroud, but I mean.
Oh, jeez.
He didn't have the best game, Rooney, but I mean that's what you need in your centre forward, really. He might not play that well, and didn't have great touch, as I said, when he had time to think about it. But in that moment, it was just instinctive, almost like where he almost scored that bicycle kick.
Yeah. Again,
where he didn't quite catch it perfectly, but that's just an instinctive finish from a street footballer, basically. All on instinct, no time to think about it.
Now we had quite a few decent strikes over the weekend. We had Cambiasso got one for Leicester. Zamora hit one for QPR. Not Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Gomez had an overhead for Swansea. Charlie Adam, of course, for Stoke against Chelsea. Defoe for Sunderland. What's your guys' pick for goal of the weekend?
Defoe for me.
Defoe?
Yeah.
I think it's a hard one about whether you go for someone like a Charlie Adam purely for the distance, or you go for someone like a Zamora or Defoe or Cambiasso for the skill.
I think Beckham's was better than Adams, to be honest.
I like the way that when Charlie Adam hit it, the curve that it got in the air, and I think the commentators picked up on it, sort of the curl in the air made it a lot tougher for Courtois. But again, it's hard to know whether that's intentional or just he's kind of hit the stuffing out of the ball and it's caught the wind or something.
But
I bloody hate Charlie Adams, so
do I.
Yeah, I think
he just runs around ruining players' careers, or at least trying to, and he's a vindictive little butter. But I quite liked Zamora's goal.
Yeah, that was
also Jermaine Defoe. It's just beautiful strikes, but I also liked Giroud's goal too. So.
Mignolet was nowhere near Giroud. I don't know if you guys saw the replay, but he was he was in another postcode away from it. That's how far out he was.
Well, I think by then it was 3-1, and he was just confidence was shot basically.
Yeah, definitely.
He should have saved Sanchez's goal. Despite how hard Sanchez hit the ball, I mean, really, it's directly above your head.
What I liked about Sanchez...
He should have saved that, but he had no chance with Giroud.
The little jink that Sanchez did around Colo, but to before he hit it, was I thought that was lovely.
Well, the fact
you're talking about Moreno being a statue. What about Tolo Torre?
Oh, he's finished.
Statue.
He's finished.
But it's amazing that going into that game, we're all talking about how long it's been since Liverpool have conceded away from home, and then they get hit for four.
Because they haven't played any good teams, that's why.
Yeah, well, that could be the case.
I think they're actually in a lot of strife, to be honest. I mean, they've lost to United, arguably their biggest rival, aside from maybe Everton, if you count that. Then, which is a big blow to the top four. Then they've come to Arsenal, who have absolutely smashed them. When apparently they've got this amazing away record. Their captain suspended. Their centre back's still gone. Their best player is injured. Jean is suspended. Lovren has to come in. Toure has to come in. I mean,
they got Blackburn midweek.
Exactly, and where is it? I mean, Michael Owen's already put Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final already.
In the final? Semi-final, yeah.
Yeah, he's already... he's already put them in the final, or the semi-final, sorry. But, yeah. I mean, where is it to hear from them? They're not really in a great place at the moment. And I think questions do have to be asked of Rodgers and his style and how he handles things and whatnot.
Well, he's had to come out and deny that there have been sort of crisis meetings held, hasn't he? I mean, there's been a bit of fallout from the game. So it sounds like the dressing room might be a bit disgruntled at the moment.
Yeah, I think Sterling is as good as gone, to be honest.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
There's also the talk that, we were talking about kind of do you play players a bit more in the transfer market to bring them in, just an extra few £1,000. But there's been some talk, and it's been on the forum too, that Jordan Henderson is turning down a contract. I think they've offered him 90 and he's after 120. And 120 in this day and age for who is going to be a club captain next year, and there aren't that many other players from that side you're going to be paying that money to anyway.
They should retain him at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the fact that they struggled with leadership against Arsenal, and I mean, Henderson's probably the one who can provide that in the future. So absolutely, they'd need to retain him. Yeah,
if he goes, they're in big strife. Because I think he's only 24 or 25 or something. And obviously, future club captain. If they lose him, it could go horribly wrong.
And he's also their only big body in midfield, unless they plan to play Chan beside him next year in midfield. And naturally, Chan's natural position. I still don't understand this playing him as a centre half. But if they lost Henderson, their midfield would be so lightweight it's not funny.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting times for Liverpool. We touched on the fact that United beating Villa had a great goal from Rooney, but we'll look at the other aspect of that, and that's the relegation battle. And there were a lot of significant results on the weekend for the relegation battle. With Leicester finally picking up a win against West Ham, we had QPR somehow getting an away win against West Brom, which I don't know what the odds were for that before the game, but to score 4 against the Tony Pulis side. And they've only got one away win for all season. It's not bad.
Weren't they singing, "We're beating you away, you must be shit" or something?
Yeah.
So, was that effect, or you must be shit if we're beating you away?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they only had one away win all season, and that was Sunderland, who are no decent side. But West Brom under Pulis. Well, exactly. I mean, and they got that win against Newcastle, and Hull lost to Swansea, which drags them further into it. Interestingly, if you look at the table, West Brom are almost, and even Newcastle to an extent, are sort of sliding into the battle because sides like Burnley, QPR and Leicester have all picked up points. It now isn't so clear about what the points total needed for safety is, and West Brom aren't that far above it.
I mean, yeah, that bottom, for 6 sides, 7 sides, it's a real scrap. I mean, bit of a shit fight going on. I mean, West Brom's in 14th, but they're only 7 points clear of relegation, and Burnley are capable of getting out of there. So, I mean, and Hull, your guys are in trouble, 28.
Massive trouble. 28.
Sunderland, 29. I mean, it's going to be a real scrap to the last day, I think. But I think Sunderland play Chelsea and Arsenal the last 2 games, so you can't see them getting points out of that.
And we've got Spurs and United, and I mean, honestly, I think we'd be almost odds-on favourites for relegation at the moment, purely because of our fixture list. I mean, Leicester are still 6 points clear of safety.
As good as gone, to be honest. They're too far away.
I think they are, but their fixture list gives them some hope, and the fact that they've beaten West Ham now should give them confidence. I mean, they've got West Brom next week, so for instance, if you give them that win, that's 2 in a row. Suddenly they're level with QPR if QPR don't get anything out of the Villa game, and all of a sudden they're right back into it. And if you give them that little ounce of confidence at this stage of the season and that self-belief, that's all the side really needs to go on a bit of run. Who knows what could happen? I would be very surprised if we're not in the relegation zone next week, though. We have Southampton.
You play Southampton.
Burnley have. To be fair, they've got Arsenal, so maybe I've spoken too soon
And
there.
you're playing Southampton.
Yeah, we're playing Southampton, and QPR have Chelsea. So, Burnley might well get a result against you guys at home, though. You never know. They, haven't looked terrible at home. They
Could
picked up.
say that, but at the same time, look how good we've been in. If we fast on the break, I don't think they stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean it's
But-
certainly getting very interesting, and I think Villa would be definitely needing 3 points against QPR for their sakes.
Well,
Yeah.
if,
I mean,
if
Tottenham,
United,
you go.
if United are clearly third or at least top four and that's secured, then Fergie might just tell Van Gaal to give Brucey 3 points, for old time's sake.
That would be very very much appreciated, and I think there's been some talk from the Irish boys at Hull to Shane Long at Southampton about a similar sort of deal being struck. So who knows what can happen? But
Southampton are a bit of in a slump themselves, though. So
they are.
I don't think it's impossible for Hull to get points out of it. I mean, it's probably unlikely, but at the same time, Southampton have slipped of late. So
And they just lost 1-0 to Everton as well.
And Everton aren't exactly good. So, I mean, it's not unthinkable that Hull could walk away with the 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the difference a week makes that you know coming out of the Chelsea game, brimming with confidence with the way that they've played, compared to the pretty dismal defeat to Swansea can alter attitudes and outlooks pretty sharply. But I think with Jelavic out for the season as well, that's the big key. I was talking to Jats in the relegation thread. We haven't won a game without him on the park, and he's now pretty much out for the season, which is a huge blow to Hull's chances.
Well, as you said as well, Aston Villa QPR is huge.
Yeah, that's huge, and I mean, a draw is probably the worst result there for both of those sides. So they'll both be going for the win.
If they get a draw, though, you drop down to 7th.
Yeah.
Villa go to 6th, and that means you're only 2 points out of the relegation zone. But then if QPR win, that leaves you, Aston Villa, and QPR on 28 points.
Well, exactly. Pretty much any result in that game.
It's a very interesting. It's huge.
It's a huge game, yeah.
It is absolutely massive. I mean, this is one of the closest relegation battles I've seen in some years that I can remember anyway, aside from Leicester. But I mean, you've got 33, 29, 28, 28, 26, 25, and then Leicester on 20th on 22. I mean, it's absolutely huge. What can any of those clubs can go down? I think West Brom will be all right, but I mean, I think anyone from 15th down from Sunderland, anyone can go.
And you look at the fixtures on the last day, we've got Leicester up against QPR and I think Villa against Burnley, are two huge games. So there could be 2 spots still up for grabs on the last day.
Who do you play?
Burnley should escape.
We play United.
Oh, yeah.
Burnley should escape from here. I'll never get the 90 minutes of my life back, but I did watch the Burnley Spurs game,
Oh, you poor
and
soul.
Burnley should have won. I mean, Ings Ings had one one-on-one and one very good chance, and he hit one over the bar and one straight at the keeper. And Spurs looked bloody putrid. They pretty much did nothing all day, and I mean, Harry Kane was just left up top on his own with no support around him, whereas Burnley actually played, I guess we've spoken about it before, but reasonable football, and Boyd got close to Ings and created some support, so they got a good draw there, and they don't look out of their depth in the Premier League. I mean, everyone laughed at United. I think it was the first game of the season when we drew away at Burnley, but they certainly showed throughout the season that they have the ability. Whilst they don't have the playing list, they've got the.
They beat Chelsea.
Sean Dyche done really well. They played good football, and if they can stay in, I think they will stay up. And then next season they can bring some players in and really push on to that kind of mid-table level.
So who do you see going down then?
I see QPR as a lock, Leicester as a lock, and this last one's tough.
Probably Hull.
Sorry,
really.
SM.
Yeah.
that I see. I'd like to say Sunderland because I don't think they
Sunderland are a
add
bit
too
of
much
a.
value to the league.
I think they're just a bit of a nothing club, Sunderland. I mean, what do they add to anything?
They used to have their annual 1-0 win over Man City, which was always fun.
Yeah. I mean, like, just when you see them in the terms of history, though, what have they actually done?
They made the League Cup final last year.
Oh, wow.
I thought you were going to say 20 years ago.
No, they played Man City in the League Cup final last year. They dumped your mob out in the semi-final, Bojan.
Yes.
I was actually at Old Trafford for the second leg of that. That was quite enjoyable. The
We
comical
went to
penalty shootout. Yeah.
The shootout. Yeah, that was really low for that season. You know, we thought, we're playing pretty ordinary and we're not winning games. Well, let's try and have a cup run. We got Sunderland. We'll go over these guys pretty easily. And then not only did it beat, but in that fashion and the way that United players took their penalties that night was just, oh my god.
Sunderland played Leicester on the penultimate game of the season, so I mean that's potentially a huge game too.
And also, I've seen on the 25th of April, Burnley play Leicester, which is a huge game. Talking about Burnley's chances of getting out, because up until that point, I think they've got Arsenal and they've got Everton at Everton, and I mean Everton are in a bit of form at the moment. They've won 3 in a row, so that might be Burnley's big chance of sort of breaking out of the relegation zone against Leicester.
I don't think Villa are that safe either. I mean, they've got QPR tomorrow, and then they're playing...
Man City is their next game.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, they've got someone else first.
No, you're right, Man City.
They've got Spurs. They've got QPR tomorrow, and then they've got Spurs, and then their next game's against Man City. So if they don't get anything against QPR or Spurs, heading into that game against Man City with sides like Burnley and QPR breathing down their necks.
And then they've got Everton at home, and then West Ham at home, and then where are they? Southampton away, Burnley at home.
So that's another big one, is the Burnley.
And that's it. So I mean, anything can happen, really.
Yeah, I mean, for Hull's sake, I mean, you just want Villa picking up as few points as possible, and I mean, it does look like it's going to be a bit tough for them with their fixture list, but at this stage of the season, in a way, league position goes out the table for the relegation battlers. I mean, they're just throwing everything they have into each game, or you'd hope that they are.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know what results to predict. I mean, Leicester beating West Ham. You could go into the games, but Hull, Swansea, and Leicester, West Ham, and say Hull have more chance against Swansea than Leicester do against West Ham, and yet, the reverse seemed to be true. So it really depends for sides like Swansea, West Ham, Stoke, Palace. I mean, how much motivation they have, because as a mid-table club, they don't have a whole lot to play for. But if they have their own internal goals, they have their own points tallies that they want to hit. Sides like Swansea still seem to have a lot of motivation, but West Ham are just sort of dropping like a stone at the moment.
Well, I agree. I mean, West Ham are down to ninth after. I mean, I think everyone envisaged it earlier on in the season when they're sitting at third or fourth or whatever it was. But I think most people thought they were never going to maintain that. Same with Southampton. But I mean, West Ham have done all right for themselves. There's talk that Fat Sam's going in the summer, but no idea who they'll bring in.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be an interesting one, because I think he's just as good as gone, because I think his contract runs out, and he's one of the highest paid managers in the league.
In the world.
In the world, even, yeah.
So,
who would be good for West Ham? Sean Dyche. If Burnley go down, they should have a look at him.
Well,
Burnley.
Because he can, he's got a... I mean...
That's not a bad call, actually.
He's a decent manager.
Well, they play good football, and he doesn't need to go around splashing millions and millions of pounds. I mean, they really haven't improved the team that much. And at the start of the season, all the pundits were saying, well, they're a lot to go down because they haven't brought anyone in, basically. I mean, I think one of their biggest signings was Michael Keane, who was a 22-year-old reserve centre-half from Man United.
And I think they brought in... I think their record transfer fee was actually for George Boyd from us, and I think that was like 2 million or something.
Yeah, probably
3 million, and he's been fantastic for them. But no, you're right. I mean, they haven't really brought anyone else in.
So, I mean, if you can get your team to play like that and still stay motivated and they play as a team, he'd be perfect for, that team between, say, 12th and 8th who are looking to push to that next level without spending accordingly to get there.
And sorry to cut you off, but I think the race for second is quite interesting too. I mean, I think Chelsea have all but first tied up. It'd be very surprised if they manage to trek from here with the squad they have, but and how good their results have been. But I mean, Arsenal 31 games, 63 points. United 31 games, 62 points. City 31 games, 61 points. I mean, any of those, I can't see City finishing second, but it's not impossible, really.
Well, I mean, I was about to say we're talking about quality of managers, and Pardew's done a fantastic job at Palace, and I mean, their win this morning.
Weren't they in the drop zone when he took over?
They were just about, I think. They might have been 17th or 16th.
He's done very well.
I don't think anyone really expected that. I remember at the time thinking he's a good manager at a club like Newcastle where they've got, a higher quality player, but he didn't seem the sort who'd be able to lift, get the most out of poor players, or no disrespect to Palace, but poorer quality players.
Yeah.
But he's done a fantastic job there.
Yeah, I mean it's remarkable, really. I mean, the way Palace were going before he took over, they were in real big strife, but he's lifted them and they've done well.
And the other side of the coin, obviously, is the poor performances from Man City and the way they've just completely dropped off. I mean, they lost to Burnley the other week, and they've lost to Palace this week, and they've gone from being in the title race to struggling to make top four.
Yeah, definitely, and it's you wonder what I think Pellegrini will go on 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And I think was it you or somebody else who made the call that this was basically the last chance for that group of players, and there might be a big overhaul in the summer ahead.
That was someone else, but I do agree with that statement.
You get guys like Toure, Dzeko, a couple of those guys, and maybe Nasri might be kind of shuffled out.
I think there's still place for Nasri there. Toure not so much, Dzeko not so much. Kolarov will be gone, I think. But I mean, City do need to bring in quite a few new faces and freshen up the playing group.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll just look quickly ahead to next week. We've already touched on it a bit with the relegation games, but we've also got United up against Man City, which should be a big derby match with a lot riding on it for both sides. Man United probably go into that pretty healthy favourites, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got the form.
You got the form, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, World Cup was saying yesterday that City have won their last 6 against them or something, and United haven't done too well of late in derbies, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, and I said that it would be foolish to write United off, and it's not as black and white as he was looking at. But I mean, now United should be red-hot favourites for that game. The way City are set up away and their results away of late have been absolutely horrendous. And United are probably the informed team behind, I'd say, Arsenal in the competition. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no reason why United shouldn't be looking to take all 3 points. And then being at Old Trafford as well, they should be able to do it, I think.
I mean, form goes out the window to an extent in the derby, but absolutely, United should be red-hot favourites. Bojan, sorry?
If they set up playing this 4-4-2 that they have, City and Toure just bombs forward on his own, Pereira and Mata will absolutely cut them up because they are absolutely flying at the moment. So, yeah, but I mean, derbies, the pressure, who knows? This is the first time. I mean, it's all doing well to say that City have been, have a very good record against United recently, but this is the first time in quite some time that I can recall that United actually go into a game with better form.
Yeah,
Man City.
I think Bucky Jock said that on the board, and it's the first time in a long time that you'll be going into the derby as a favourite.
And we're actually playing very good football at the moment, and we're playing as a team, so we're not kind of relying on one or two individuals. Daley Blind's been fantastic.
Herrera.
Luke Shaw. Herrera's been beautiful, and I think we had 75% possession against Villa and similar stats in the last 2 games before then too. So if we can keep the ball, I think we're at a very, very good chance.
Will Blind be first choice now over Shaw, or?
Well, the advantage of having Daley Blind, we might see it this week, is that his versatility. So, I mean, depending on what he wants to do with Ashley Young, how Van Gaal's turned Ashley Young and Flanagan into very good players, I'm not quite sure. But if they move Young to left back or Shaw to left back, they can bring in Daley Blind to protect the back four from Toure, and still play, I guess, a midfield 3 in front of him of Carrick, Herrera and Mata. So that versatility, I mean, whilst he has been playing left back and going forward, he shows the James sense of a central midfielder, and he's had a couple of assists in the last 2 games. He had 100% passing efficiency and got an assist last game, so he's playing very well.
I think the guy to watch, though, in the derby from the United perspective is Silva. I mean, I don't think Touré's that much of a threat. I mean, probably a bit foolish to write him off like I am, but I think Silva's the real danger man.
You don't think Valencia can handle him?
Well, I mean, Valencia to me isn't a fullback, but I think Silva can change the game in an instant with his passing and vision. So, I mean, not to say Touré is not a good player by any means, but I think Silva can change the game most definitely.
Well, I guess the more I think about it, and you're talking about Silva, and I've talked about Touré, on the right-hand side, the last 3 games, we've had Valencia at right back and Mata ahead of him, and Mata isn't quick. So maybe they do go to a kind of 4-1-3-2 and put Daley Blind there, and he can in defensive midfield, and he can come across and try and stop. I mean, if you're a smart player, you use your spatial awareness similar to, I guess, say John Terry and your positioning. You don't need to be quick if you're smart enough player. So maybe they do play Blind in defensive midfield. You can't play Carrick there against De Silva and Touré because he's not physical enough. But Blind can probably play there.
Well, it'll certainly be a very interesting game, and probably the highlight of the weekend. We've already touched on the relegation games. So are there any closing thoughts for you guys before we sign off?
Overall, I think it was a good weekend for the results. The top 4 really took some shape, and the side sitting in second shows that they deserve to be there.
Well, I backed you guys in for second for a couple of weeks now, so I think it's good to see you there. So thank you for joining us, Wenger.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers for coming on, Bojan.
And no worries, mate. If United win this weekend, title charge.
Title charge is on.
Oh, title charge is on. Real in Chelsea
as well.
Real in Chelsea, and then Van Gaal will be knighted.
Yeah. if United won the title from here, I think that would be the biggest comeback to win a title.
Can you imagine the smugness and arrogance from Van Gaal if United won the title from here? He'd be telling everyone how wrong they were, pointing to journalists saying, "Look, here's my piece of paper.
Here's my dossier
at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's my dossier. These are the facts. Listen to me." Did you remember his first press conference when he talked about the fact he was trying to educate all the journalists on football about how you don't know everything, I know everything, and I'm going to educate you over the next 3 years of my contract?
In mathematics.
Mathematically still in it.
Do that again.
Mathematically.
Mathematically, we can win the title.
We're still in it.
We're still in the race. I have a fantastic team here, and there's no reason why the players can't lift and perform.
Well, on that note, we'll sign off for the day, but cheers for joining us, boys.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you for having us.
No worries, and
pleasure.
And thanks everyone for listening along, and until next time, we'll see you on the forums.